Mike McCarthy has been the Green Bay coach since '06 in his 9th season. Won the Super Bowl in Dallas following the 2010 campaign. And Pete Carroll, in his 5th year here, won 2 national championships at USC. Previously coached the Jets in '94 and the Patriots in the late '90s. And took them to the title at the Meadowlands. Stephen Hauschka to kick off. Seattle won the toss, and they have deferred, and DeJuan Harris sets up in the end zone to run back the opening kickoff. And before we can start the season twice now, the ball has blown off the tee. It's a little breezy in here, but not normally enough to blow it off the tee, and Hauschka will put it down again, and one more time, and he'll have to get somebody to come over and hold it for him. Perfect early evening. Rodgers ready to get that offense started, and we can't wait to see it. And the 2014 season begins with a kick that goes 6 yards into the end zone, and DeJuan Harris will come out and get buried at the 13-yard line. Let's take a look right now at the Green Bay starters.
Aaron Rodgers, Butte Community College.
Eddie Lacy, Alabama.
Jordy Nelson, Kansas State.
Randall Cobb, Kentucky.
Jared Boykin, Virginia Tech.
Richard Rogers, Cal Berkeley.
David Bakhtiari, Sarah High School.
Josh Sitton, Central Florida.
Corey Lindsley, The Ohio State.
TJ Lang, Birmingham Brother Rice.
Brian Balaga, Iowa.
And eyes on Lindsley. Michelle talking about the rookie center. Makes his NFL debut by snapping it to Rodgers. The Packers indicating they're going to run a warp speed offense. We'll see. They start with Lacy on the ground. He takes the ball out to the 19-yard line. Kevin Williams, the longtime former Minnesota Viking, makes the stop. And now a little sugar huddle. A couple of yards behind the ball. Seattle ready for anything. Obviously, defensively, that defense last year was phenomenal. On 2nd and 4, we have a flag. And this is Lacy chugging his way for a gain of a couple. John Parry is the referee. One of the best. Michael Bennett, I think, came across the line for Seattle. The question was he
offside? Defense, number 72, 5-yard penalty. First down.
Aaron Rodgers, home or road, doesn't matter with him. On the road in his career, a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio and an NFL record 101 passer rating. So Seattle with a penalty. Of all crazy things, it's an anomaly. Seattle last year, great defensively, good enough offensively, Super Bowl champs, but led the league in penalties. And here goes Lacy, a healthy dose of him breaking tackles. And the second-year back out of Alabama takes the ball to the 39-yard line, where Bobby Wagner stops him after a gain of 15.
I think you go back to a guy like Jerome Bettis. Since we've seen a guy with this kind of moves at his size, just great balance, the ability to make even defensive backs miss. What a start for them running the football here.
Picked up a lot of experience last year. They had to go to the ground game because Rodgers missed almost 8 full games. And they toss it this time to Starks. They have 3 running backs. They've got Lacy, they've got Starks, and they've got DeJuan Harris. Short gain here, 2nd and 8. McCarthy calls the plays in.
So you say, why are they going so fast? They're trying to trap the big guys on the field. Right now, Brandon Mebane, Kevin Williams has been out here this entire drive, and the Seattle Seahawks are used to making a lot of substitutions.
From the shotgun, set up the screen, but the pass is behind Jordy Nelson, and so that's covered well, and it's a loss. KJ Wright, the outside linebacker, taking him down. A loss of 2, it'll be 3rd down and 10. And there is Corey Lindsley, who was drafted in the 5th round, played his college football at Ohio State, and gets the start tonight on national television in the opener, snapping it to Aaron Rodgers against the best defense in the league. Apart from that, not much going on. 3rd and 10. Rodgers stepping up, buying time. It gets taken down at the 40-yard line. O'Brien Schofield makes the stop.
That time they decided to spy on Aaron Rodgers, so they were just going to rush 3 and then leave a linebacker right in the middle of the field right there so that in case he did decide to run for it, they've got somebody in play.
Tim Mastay to kick. Earl Thomas is going to run back punch this year. It's a very short kick, and Thomas fields it on the run and gets tackled immediately at the 35-yard line by Sean Richardson. So we'll look at the Seattle offense when we come back on opening night. Roger Goodell is here tonight, the NFL commissioner taking in the action. I'm sure he'll be someplace else on Sunday and maybe even on Monday when the rest of the guys get underway. They start with a short pass to Percy Harvin, who takes it up to the 39-yard line. And let's take a look at the Seattle offense.
Russell Wilson from a whole pack of Badgers.
Marshawn Lynch, Oakland Ice City, California.
Percy Harvin, University of Florida.
Doug Baldwin, Stanford.
Jermaine Kearse, Washington.
Zach Miller, Arizona State.
Russell Okung, Oklahoma State.
James Carpenter, Alabama.
Max Unger, Oregon. J.R. Sweezy, NC State. Justin Britt, LHS, MIZ.
A lot of eyes tonight on the rookie over the right side, and this is beast mode. Marshawn Lynch to the 43-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 1. So Wilson, a 3rd-round pick 2 years ago, 24-8 as a starting quarterback regular season. Of course, last year took him all the way to the title with 3 postseason wins. Started his college career at North Carolina State. Still had eligibility there, but they weren't interested in having him come back for his senior year. So on he went to Wisconsin, led him to the Rose Bowl, and of course the Hawks to the Super Bowl last year. Harvin takes the quick flip and picks up the first down to the 48-yard line. Micah Hyde makes the tackle.
Percy Harvin with 2 touches already. He had 2 rushes in the Super Bowl and ended up the leading rusher in that game. But anytime you can get this dynamic playmaker in the open field, you do it. He played a little running back. Dom Capers was telling me when he was with the Minnesota Vikings that they feared him as much in the backfield as they did Adrian Peterson. That's the kind of talent he has.
He ran back that second half kickoff to make the score 29-0 in the Super Bowl, and that was the kill shot. Pass over the middle caught by Jermaine Kearse, who also had a good postseason. Gain of 8. Let's take a look at the Packard defense.
Dayton Jones, UCLA.
Latroy Guyon, Bradford High School Tornadoes.
Mike Daniels, Highland Regional High School.
Clay Matthews, USC.
AJ Hawk, The Ohio State University.
Brad Jones, University of Colorado.
Julius Peppers, North Carolina.
Tremont Williams, La Tech.
Morgan Burnett, Georgia Tech.
Micah Hyde, the University of Iowa.
Sam Shields, the U.
And if you didn't pay much attention in the offseason, yes, that is Julius Peppers, the former Carolina Panther and Chicago Bear. And this is Turbin who gets taken down. They put Turbin in the backfield, taking Lynch out here, and he gets taken down by Matthews for no gain.
You better get somebody on this guy. You leave him unblocked, he's going to run down your running back from behind. What a play. Clay Matthews had real problems with his thumb, had surgery in the offseason, and you can imagine for a pass rushing defender kind of guy, if you can't grab and pull with that thumb, it really limits you. Right off the bat, we see some of his explosiveness back.
So his first play of the season, taking Turbin down from behind. Lynch comes back in now. Wilson from the gun on 3rd and 2, and the pass is deflected in the air and then intercepted, and then it's loose again. Are they going to call it an interception? No, it's going to call it an incompletion. Jones came down with the ball, but they're going to say incomplete.
What a great play. I think that was Miller who went up and knocked it out. Watch this. It comes back. This is going to be an easy interception. Miller gets back on his feet and knocks that ball out. Tremendous play. Russell Wilson says thank you very much. Great play by Sam Shields initially, but then Miller saved him an interception.
So Seattle's first punt off the foot of John Ryan. Randall Cobb back to run it back, standing at the 8-yard line. Nose down with backspin, and it's a short kick. And you got a flag down, running into the kicker as a flag is thrown by Parry. Mike Daniels came in to try to block Ryan's kick.
Number 76, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So it's just running into the kicker, but since it was 4th and 2, that 5's enough for a first down.
Right up the gut. This is an easy call. Comes right in, catches him, tries to catch him on the way down, but it doesn't do you any good. And one thing you do not need to do with Seattle is give them extra opportunities. That hurts. Mike Daniels, a really good player, Al. He is a talented guy, one of the strongest guys you'll see playing defensive end around, but that was a big mistake.
Wilson now from the shotgun at the 40-yard line. This is Seattle's opening drive, and they give it to Harvin. And Harvin gets the first down and picks up a gain of 13 off a Zach Miller block. So Miller's been huge on this drive. First down.
Look familiar. Here comes the jet sweep across the way here. And before the defense, you see Julius Peppers been around the league about 10, 12 years. He couldn't even figure out what just happened to him. Percy Harvin went by him so fast. This is the play. They ran it twice in the Super Bowl for 45 yards. It's still working.
Harvin came over in that trade last year, but missed almost the whole season. Hip surgery. Offensive coordinator Darrell Bevel had him at Minnesota. He calls the plays. Play clock is down to 1, and they just do snap it. Wilson feeling the pressure, starts to take off, gets to the sideline. No gain. Clinton Dix runs him out of bounds. Hakeem Clinton Dix.
How about that? Isn't that a great name?
Fabulous.
You just wonder if he told a joke, what would you do? You know, I don't know. But he is a young man. He's a safety that has come over. He's going to sort of mix his way in with Micah Hyde, who's a little bit more of a cover kind of guy. Clinton Dix is a bigger guy that maybe if Marshawn Lynch gets it going, you'll see more of him.
Halfway mark of the opening quarter on opening night with no score. 2nd and 10. Lynch puts that head down and takes the ball to the 21-yard line. It'll be interesting to see how much Lynch carries the ball this year. He's had more than 300 carries in each of the last 2 seasons. He's now 28 years old.
Watch the young rookie right tackle Justin Britt on the backside get the veteran Julius Peppers on the ground. And if you can do that with the way that Marshawn Lynch can hit some cutbacks, they end up with some big runs. A lot of pressure on Justin Britt. Very good run blocker. We'll see how he holds up against these excellent pass rushers. 2nd round pick, at one time a Missouri high school heavyweight wrestling champion. 3rd down and 5 from the 21-yard line. Blitz coming. Wilson gets it away. The pass is caught, but not enough for the first down, as Doug Baldwin had to come back to make the catch, and forward progress won't net him the first. Tramon Williams is there for the stop. Doing a lot of things already with Clay Matthews. Going to stunt inside here and almost get there, but Russell Wilson's doing such a great job of getting the ball out of his hands, and there's the young rookie on the outside against Julius Peppers. Pretty good on that one. So 4th and 1 as Baldwin had to come back to make the catch, and Williams made sure he didn't pick up the first. This will be a 35-yard field goal attempt for Stephen Hauschka. And what do we have here? We've got a timeout. They almost got caught with too many men on the field. If they had been caught there, if they had been able to get that snap off, it would have been first down again.
30-second timeout.
Almost 2 huge penalties or mistakes on special teams to start this game. Carroll contending that they didn't get the timeout called. Josh Boyd was one of the guys. There's about 13 guys on the field right now, and so they figure it out and start to run off. But Seattle, obviously, they may have tried to get this snap off, and if they had, it would have been a first down. Nick Perry was the other guy to account for the 13. So Hauschka now will reset at the 25-yard line. Trying to put up the first points of this season. John Ryan, who's the punter, will do the holding. Julius Peppers inside there, one of the great kick blockers ever for many years, and this kick is perfect. So there's your first score of the season. 6:03 left in the first. Seattle 3 and Green Bay nothing. Look at downtown Seattle, home of the Super Bowl champions. This place was fired up this week, weren't they? Well, I'll say. Man, it was a lot of fun to be here. Lively. It always is, but of course when you come home as the Super Bowl champion, extra special, obviously. Stephen Hauschka to put it in the air. And down to the end zone by Harris. Another familiar sight, of course, is the Space Needle here in Seattle. Back after this. Rookie Corey Linsley found out about a week ago he was going to be the starter in this madhouse, and at least so far working against one of the strongest nose tackles in the game, Brandon Mebane. Have to say he's done pretty well. Holding his own. You'll see a little bit of his power here coming off the double team. Fighting. He played at Ohio State. He played in the big house. He said on a relative scale, this is a pretty small place.
What a way to make your debut. Nice opening salvo for Linsley, a kid from Youngstown, Ohio, as he snaps it to Rogers on first down, and the pass to the outside is taken there by Nelson. Linsley grew up near Cleveland, but he wasn't a Browns fan. He said, I was a Packer fan. In fact, he was such a Packer fan when he was 7 years old. For Halloween, he dressed up as Brett Favre. I asked him last night, does Aaron know this? He said, no. I said, he will.
He really was a nice young man, though, wasn't he?
Very.
Did not seem overwhelmed at all by this situation.
From the 31, Rogers throwing, and it's Lacey trying to break a tackle, and he gets a lot of help, and he gets gang tackled. Let's take a look at the Seattle defense.
Michael Bennett, A-Leaf Taylor High School. Tony McDaniel, Tennessee.
Brandon Mebane, Crenshaw High School.
Cliff Averill, Boilermaker. Malcolm Smith, USC.
Bobby Wagner, D, Utah State.
KJ Wright, Mississippi State.
Richard Sherman, Stanford. Cam Chancellor, Virginia Tech. Earl Thomas, DBU, Texas.
Byron Maxwell, CC Blaney.
That defense last year, you look at those numbers, they're right up there with the 1985 Chicago Bears. Fewest points allowed, fewest yards allowed, most takeaways. Phenomenal on every level. Play clock to 0 as Rogers gets it away and then throws into traffic, and it's incomplete. Randall Cobb covered on the play by Jeremy Lane.
Not a simple little pick play trying to hit Cobb coming up the sideline. He hesitated just a minute, probably cost him a catch. I think that was a really good throw by Aaron Rodgers. But this entire game so far, Jordy Nelson has been down here on Byron Maxwell. They do not flip-flop corners here in Seattle. So basically, Richard Sherman's been out of the picture.
3rd and 14. Sliding left. Rogers buys a ton of time, and then that pass is underthrown. Popped it. Intended for Nelson. 4th and 14. And they got a little skirmish going on back at the 15-yard line.
Comes Averill off the corner here. And TJ Lang coming from the backside, the guard, just took Averill out. That has become very much in vogue in the National Football League. And here's Earl Thomas going to do something new this year.
First punt return was 3 yards. Golden Tate no longer here. He opted for the big money in Detroit. Thomas to run back the punch. Mastay to put it in the air for the 2nd time in the game. And Thomas camps underneath it and then loses the football as he did not call for the fair catch. The Packers are sure they have it. And we'll wait for the call here from the crew. They have it. So Thomas running back kicks, and House was right there all over him. And I was surprised Thomas didn't call for the fair catch, and it cost him.
Yeah, but Richard Sherman blocked House right into the kick returner, Earl Thomas. And Earl Thomas now, that's 2 times in a row. He took a huge chance just trying to field the punt. You know the kind of pride he has. He is a guy that wants to be the tough guy out there. But that's twice now. He took huge chances not calling a fair catch, and this time it cost him.
Clinton Dix wound up with the recovery, and that gives Green Bay excellent position at the 34-yard line. 4.5 to go in the quarter. Seattle up 3-0. Lacey and Kuhn in the backfield. Kuhn the fullback. And Lacey follows him and goes to the outside, but he can't turn the corner. And Seattle with Cassius Marsh, a rookie out of UCLA, in on the tackle. No gain.
One thing you're going to learn about the National Football League is they're going to play you inside out. They want you to try and outrun NFL defensive ends and linebackers. Unless you're Gale Sayers, you're probably not going to get that done.
2nd and 10. Three backs now. The tight end Quarles is also in the backfield. And Lacey through the middle, and there's nothing happening there. To the 32-yard line, K.J. Wright makes the stop. Lacey picked in the second round, played for Saban at Alabama. Last year, Green Bay looking for the running game, had a concussion early in the season. They also had an off week. But then when Rodgers got hurt, they had to go to the ground game, so he got a lot of experience in 2013.
And for the first time, really, now playing on third down as well. He's nicknamed himself Moss because he thinks he's a receiver now. But he did not play on third down very much at all last season.
3rd and 8. Four-man rush. Rodgers slides, throws, and the pass is taken in by Cobb. Does he have the first down? It's right there on the yellow line. They're going to spot it, and it should move the chains, and does.
Aaron Rodgers just so good moving to his left. It's such a tough throw. Drills it right in there, but that ability, just like Russell Wilson has, to just slide out of the pocket, buy a little time, picked up that first down.
Yeah, two quarterbacks tonight who are both great outside of the pocket. They're not bad inside the pocket either.
They're just great.
And Rodgers to the left side again, and this is Nelson. And he'll make it first down and goal for Green Bay.
Byron Maxwell came in at the end of last year and played really well, but because Seattle does not flip-flop their cornerbacks, they're able to get their best receiver, Jordy Nelson, on Byron Maxwell anytime they want it. And basically, Richard Sherman's on the other side against Jared Boykin, their number 3.
Now they stack the backs here. Rodgers to take it out of the shotgun. Fakes the handoff. This is Nelson, and Nelson's stretching for the goal line, and he's out of bounds at the 2. Tackled by Maxwell.
I mean, this game plan has not been too complex so far. Maxwell comes up, they go to that back shoulder or comeback. He plays off a little bit, they just raise up and let Jordy Nelson try to make a play.
Second down and goal. They'll hurry up here. The play clock is at 2, and Rodgers takes the timeout. So he surveyed the situation. Green Bay coming into the game, a lot of talk about they wanted to run 75 plays per game. They did that in the first half anyway, on that pace in a preseason game, Chris. And tonight they've run 14 plays in almost a full quarter.
Yeah, and the difference is that the defensive linemen for the Seattle Seahawks last season, they played about 65% of the snaps. That's what they sort of averaged, even on the top end of that. So they're trying to make them stay on the field for an entire drive and wear them down.
Rodgers had that broken collarbone last year in midseason, did come back, played against Chicago in that last game of the year, led that tremendous comeback at the finish at Soldier Field, got them into the playoffs. They had home field against San Francisco, but lost in the wild card round.
Sometimes defenses forget about John Kuhn in these situations on the goal line. He scores a lot of touchdowns catching the football down here.
Now they have Mike Daniels in the backfield, so they put the tackle in there. There he is behind right guard, and they give the ball to Kuhn, and he reaches out and is in for the touchdown. The line judge coming in to say he was able to stretch out before forward progress was stopped, and in go the Packers.
Well, you just think that he's going to hand the ball to Lacey the other way. Let's make sure he crossed the plane here. Yes. I don't think he was ever down. His knee was never down. I guess they never blew the whistle for momentum, and then clearly leaned it across the line.
All scoring plays automatically reviewed. Yep, he's across the line. Any part of the ball over any part of the goal line. That's 21 regular season touchdowns now for that man Kuhn. None of them longer than 10 yards, but that's what he does. Comes in short yardage and does it here.
So far, special teams mistakes leading to both scores.
Mason Crosby for the extra point. So what set it up? It was the muffed punt. Thomas put it on the ground, and the Packers take it in for the first touchdown of the season. 7-3 Green Bay. Well, Mike Holmgren was here for a long time, and there's a guy, of course, who was on both sides in this game. Green Bay took them to a Super Bowl, had a street named after him. Took Seattle to a Super Bowl in Detroit against Pittsburgh after the 05 season, which they lost 21-10. And the kickoff goes through the end zone. So Seattle will get the ball, 1:25 to go in the quarter, with Green Bay up by 4 on opening night. Well, that's a nice pair to draw to. Julius Peppers coming over from Chicago. Clay Matthews, drafted a few years ago by Green Bay. Take a look at some of those numbers. 8 Pro Bowls for Peppers, 4 for Matthews. Would have made a 5th appearance probably had he not had the broken thumb on 2 occasions last year. And that defense is on the field right now as the ball is handed off with the flag thrown. Marshawn Lynch for a gain of a couple. Going to get a hold against Seattle.
Yeah, Clay Matthews is saying it's on Justin Britt, the rookie. He immediately snapped around.
Offense, number 68. 10-yard penalty, first down.
He is right here, going to kind of hook him around the neck, shoulder area, and got the call. One thing that Russell Wilson's done a nice job of, at least so far, is he's getting the ball out of his hands really quickly. Dom Capers, the defensive coordinator, now feels like he has more healthy pass rushers than he's had in years, and Russell Wilson knew it. He knew he was going to have to get the ball out of his hand. We haven't seen any of his sort of trademark scrambles yet, though.
First down and 20 now. Trying to get some breathing room. And Lynch is able to provide that as he takes it to the 21-yard line for a gain of 11. Matthews runs him down there. It'll be second down.
One of the real pleasant surprises so far this preseason has been the play of these 2 guards, J.R. Sweezy and James Carpenter. James Carpenter on the other side is a guy that, I don't know, maybe wasn't always in the best of shape, came back in just great shape, number 77, and they feel like that he really has a chance to be a star in this game, but J.R. Sweezy's been great as well.
Fake inside handoff to Lynch, and throwing on the run, and the catch is made a yard shy of the first down by Percy Harvin before he goes out of bounds. So they've turned a 1st and 20 into a 3rd down and 1 as the clock will tick down and probably end the quarter before they get another play off.
You know, sometimes as a quarterback, getting out of the pocket just kind of gets you in the game. And somebody with the mobility of Russell Wilson, I think that'll help him here early.
And that is the end of the first quarter. Green Bay 7, Seattle 3. This kickoff special resumes from Seattle after these messages. And the ball is handed off to Lynch, and he will pick up the first down. A gain of 7, Morgan Burnett running him down.
I tell you, Marshawn Lynch is just so good. He breaks more tackles than anybody that I can name in the National Football League, and you think you've got him. He's not a huge guy, about 215, 220 pounds, but one guy trying to get him, it just doesn't happen. Julius Peppers crashed down across the face, and that was Justin Britt able to just ride him right out of the hole.
To the outside to Percy Harvin, and he'll get smacked before he can get to the line of scrimmage, and the ball almost came loose there. Clay Matthews is right there to secure him.
Boy, Clay Matthews is playing angry out here so far. Looked like he tried to rip the head off of Percy Harvin on this one. Come out here, he reads this all the way, quickly gets off the block and just gets Percy Harvin by the head. Jeez.
Clay Matthews.
I'll tell you what, Al, when he's right and when he's healthy, he has been as dynamic a defensive player as we have in the game. It's always a shame. It seems like something kind of knocks him out of his game.
How's that pedigree, by the way?
Yeah.
And wide open at the 50-yard line is Harvin. And on 2nd and long, Percy Harvin takes the ball into Green Bay territory, and they'll spot it at about the 32.
What a move off the ball by Percy Harvin. He's going to come over and duck underneath the coverage here, make Morgan Burnett basically get picked off his own guy, and perfectly done by Russell Wilson. Those crossing routes are just something that are going to give the Packers nightmare. Here's Zach Miller, the tight end on the outside. Boy, is it nice to have a tight end that can block a superstar pass rusher like that.
Already 5 catches tonight for Harvin. Oh, they fake it to Lynch. They faked everybody. Lockett makes the catch, gets into the end zone.
Oh, baby.
Beautiful ball handling.
They took a page out of Auburn's playbook. The read option, pull up and throw it down the field. The corner came up to get Russell Wilson, and he just dumped it right in behind him. Sam Shields thought that was just a read option, so he was going after Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson pulls it down and throws a touchdown pass. Great play design.
And Clinton Dix misses the tackle. Could have stopped at about the 5. They take the lead, Hauschka, to kick the extra point. 2 minutes into the second quarter. For the Seahawks, back-to-back 33-yard plays. The Harvin reception, the Lockett reception. And just like that, Seattle takes the lead over Green Bay, 10-7. Well, that drive started with a penalty on Britt. They started at the 20. The Britt penalty took them back to the 10, and away they went. It's an 80-yard drive. 2 runs, 4 passes, the back-to-back 33-yarders to Harvin and Lockett. And Seattle has the lead for the first time. 10-7, Seahawks on top. Aaron Rodgers anxious to get back out onto the field. He has begun the night 6 out of 8 for 34 yards. 6 yards into the end zone. Harris hesitated, and then comes out and gets the ball to the 16-yard line as we go back to the touchdown.
Sam Shields hadn't seen this one. See the read option? He comes up and there's nobody in behind but Clinton Dix. Here he comes. A little change up. That's a play they use a lot in college now. Welcome to the NFL. Beautifully done by Russell Wilson. And then my favorite part, at the end of the play, Russell Wilson looks back and said, "Coach Bevel, nice call." You see him kind of laughing. There they are sitting on the bench, and you could read his lips just a few minutes ago. He said, "Nice call, Coach."
Bevel, one of the top assistants in the league, might have gotten a head coaching job had they not gone so deep into the playoffs last year.
Great point.
From the 16. And Lacey gets stopped. I mean, it's so tough for an assistant coach to have a chance, because if a team needs a coach, they normally want to hire him, Chris, in January. They don't want to have to wait around. So you've got Bevel, you've got Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, a pair of guys who might be head coaches right now were it not for the success of the Seahawks.
Yeah, both the coordinators had 2 interviews apiece, but they couldn't wait. You know, there's too much pressure to hire a coach for these teams.
And Rodgers will dump it off to Lacey. And he gets smacked at the 20-yard line. Meanwhile, for Green Bay, you know, we talk about coaches, and when you think about them, and you've got Lambeau, of course, and Lombardi, and we saw Mike Holmgren, and this guy, he doesn't get what he deserves. Mike McCarthy, 9 years, 9 pretty good years.
Yeah, and really he's the offensive coach. He's the head coach, but he's the offensive coach. And you look at their offensive numbers since he's been here, off the charts. They've had a couple of lean years on defense, but not on offense.
In the history of the league, he has the 2nd highest points per game average, topped only by Sean Payton. 3rd and 5. And a quick toss on a slant and a first down as Cobb makes the catch. Lane rolls him down, and that moves the chains.
Well, Jeremy Lane's had some groin injuries, and you just wonder how healthy he's going to be on some of these change of direction. He thought it was going to be that pick play again. He reacted to the outside, and they just changed it up.
Give it to Lacey, bounces away. turns no gain into a pickup of 2 or 3. Bobby Wagner, the middle linebacker, stops him.
We got 2 Packers down on that play.
Yeah. You got Bulaga and you got Richard Rogers, so you got your right tackle and your tight end. So a pair of Packers are down and needing attention. You had Rogers and Bulaga both going down on the same play. We'll take a look at how it happened.
Yeah, Cliff Avrill's going to jam Balaga's head right back into Richard Rogers. I think Bulaga may have gotten a little concussion-like symptom there, and not sure what happened to Rogers, the tight end.
So Bulaga out. That Sherrod, number 78, Derek Sherrod, fourth-year guy out of Mississippi State. Andrew Quarles comes in at tight end, and the inside handoff goes here to Starks, and he gets taken down after a very short gain by Bobby Wagner.
Got a little taste of that hawk tackling that they talk about. This team does about as good a job of wrapping when they tackle as any team in the National Football League. They take great pride in sort of their rugby style of tackle.
3rd down and 4. Pretty tough to run an offense at warp speed in this ballpark. Play clock at 4. Handoff goes to Starks, and he takes it out to the 44-yard line. So the backup back, you've got Lacey, of course, is number 1, but Starks can do the job. Found out about that in the Super Bowl a few years ago, and DeJuan Harris is number 3.
Yeah, and he had a great year last year. 5.5 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns over 20 yards.
Rogers protected well, slings it to the outside, and that's Quarles making the catch. Out of bounds he goes. Cam Chancellor with the tackle. Aaron Rodgers, he's about as good as it gets right now. I mean, we've lived in this whole Brady and Peyton Manning era, and they're still great, but he came along a little bit later, but he's right up there with them.
And there's no question about it, and his mobility separates him a little bit. He can throw as well moving left or right or in the pocket, and just such a dynamic playmaker, has been for a long time.
Got to throw Drew Brees in there as well. 2nd down and 8. And Starks gets taken down. Gang tackling again. Everybody going to the ball. 3rd down and 5.
I'll tell you, you have to start throwing Russell Wilson in there as well. First 2 years in the league, over 100 quarterback rating and a Super Bowl trophy already. I'll take my chances with him in his career.
Don't forget Andrew Luck. We'll see him on Sunday night. Indianapolis against Denver. 3rd and 5. Rodgers escaping, buying time, deep downfield into traffic, and 2 flags. Cobb trying to turn around. You had Wagner going all the way downfield with him, and Bobby Wagner getting tangled up with him, and 2 flags come in.
Well, pretty amazing that Bobby Wagner could run that far down the field with a guy like Randall Cobb, but once that ball's in the air.
Interference, defense, number 54. Automatic 1st down, spot of the foul.
So difficult for anybody to learn to turn their head, and middle linebackers just aren't used to doing this. When the ball's coming, you got to turn your head, or just the receiver's action of going back into the defender is an automatic pass interference.
That's a 44-yard penalty. 1st and goal from the 7-yard line. To the outside. There's Cobb, and he's going to get wrapped up immediately by Lane.
Had that play where Jordy Nelson never turned around to look for the pass. He simply was going to block coming off the line of scrimmage. They're going to try and get it here and just beat Jeremy Lane to the end zone, but Jeremy Lane just beat him to the punch.
Under 8 to go in the half. Seahawks by 3. Green Bay threatening with a 2nd and goal. Lacey keeps the legs going, takes the ball just inside the 5-yard line. 3rd and goal.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think on every single snap Jared Boykin's been on Richard Sherman, there hasn't been one ball thrown over here to this side. And now you've got Jordy Nelson in the slot with Andrew Corliss on the left side. Looks like you're going to have some kind of zone because they've got a linebacker out on Jordy Nelson.
Green Bay going 4 wide. Rodgers out of the gun. Buying time, slinging it too high. Thomas covering on the play, intended for Nelson. And that'll make it 4th down.
Yeah, it's a good thing that Aaron Rodgers threw it where he did, or Earl Thomas is going to have an interception. Rodgers saw him and was hoping Jordy Nelson would slide away from him, but I don't think Jordy Nelson ever saw what Earl Thomas was doing.
So they can't cash all the way in on that 44-yard penalty. Have to settle for a field goal attempt. Mason Crosby had a nice comeback year last year after a very poor season in 2012. And this 23-yard attempt is good. Aaron Rodgers a little frustrated after that drive, which ends with 3 instead of 7. The game tied at 10. Russell Wilson can do it from outside the pocket. His 2 years in the league, 1,821 yards and 17 TD passes. That's the most in the NFL outside the pocket, and inside the pocket he ain't bad either. And only 2 quarterbacks with a 100+ rating inside and outside the pocket over the past 2 seasons, and the other is a guy we're going to see on Sunday night.
The incredibly mobile Peyton Manning. Yeah. That was one, as soon as that one came up, I was like, say, what? Wait a minute, who was that? He just is good everywhere, I guess.
Home and road, too. At the goal line, Percy Harvin looking for some room. It spun around again, but is able to run it back to the 30-yard line. What a difference he's going to make this season.
Oh, that Percy Harvin is a special player, and so is this guy, Russell Wilson. One of the things he's really worked on is quickening up his release time. .33 is about as good as it gets. We've seen a couple down around .30. He's been pretty consistent at .33. You'll see the throwing motion. Pretty much straight up, maybe a little loop at the bottom, but he gets that ball out of there very quickly. And so far, these pass rushers really haven't had the chance to get to him, but we also haven't seen a lot of his scrambling where a lot of his trademark plays come from.
Very efficient, only 1 incomplete pass to this point. In the pocket this time, going deep and reaching for it, and one-handing it is Zach Miller, the tight end. Great catch.
Zach Miller is going to be out there working against Clay Matthews, and I thought this thing was overthrown all the way. Look at that catch. Beautiful. Zach Miller doing it, blocking on these guys, and now receiving over the top. Did he get his hands under it? I think he did.
To the line quickly, and now Wilson's going to escape, gets away, and then throws it away. Outside the pocket, just threw it in the stands. Josh Boyd put the pressure on that time.
You know, one of the things for young quarterbacks is that they just have to develop some trust in their receivers to make plays like this. Give them opportunities. These guys are brilliant pros, and I think Russell Wilson fully understands now. Every once in a while, just give guys like Zach Miller or Percy Harvin or Jermaine Kearse some opportunities. Think back to Jermaine Kearse and that 4th down play in the championship game. Jeez, what a play that was.
Big postseason for him. Good for Miller, too. 2nd and 10. Fake it to Harvin. Pressure put on, flag is thrown. And Harvin winds up with the ball, and we'll see about the penalty. Julius Peppers is there for the tackle. Yep. John Parry making the call here.
Offside, defense, number 56, 5-yard penalty, replay, 2nd down.
And that's Julius Peppers.
You know, Julius Peppers really had never played an outside linebacker, and he was getting ready to go to Carolina, thinking he'd just go home and finish his career there. And then the Green Bay Packers called and said, how'd you like to be a stand-up 34 outside linebacker? He said, I've been waiting my whole life to have a chance to do that. He loves it, and you've got to assume he's going to get better and better at it as he goes.
So he flew north instead of south as the handoff is taken by Lynch. And Marshawn Lynch to the 20-yard line. Run down by Morgan Burnett. That's a gain of 21 yards.
Fullback just in the game, Derek Coleman. Watch this block. Sifts out the inside linebacker, gets the angle there on Brad Jones, and there goes Marshawn Lynch. And if you're a defensive back, that is the last thing you want to see coming down the field. Look at this monster.
5'11", 215. Who can ever forget that day against New Orleans in the playoffs a couple of years back and that run he made. High snap.
Percy Harvin in the backfield.
And Harvin takes it to the 11-yard line. Harvin can line up a lot of places. One thing you probably won't see him do is take a direct snap. Then again, who knows?
Well, here's what happens is he comes out from the outside. Defensively, you think you're looking at an empty set, a pure pass situation. All of a sudden, Percy Harvin comes in the backfield. They hand him the ball, and he runs like a running back.
Harvin comes out, 2nd down and 1. Leave the fullback in here, Derek Coleman. To the outside. Lynch would have been stopped. Instead, is able to move forward and pick up the 1st down. Broke away from Clinton Dix.
Clinton Dix is finding out the NFL is a little different than the SEC. As good as Alabama and their opponents are, as a safety, you hope you're going to make this tackle, but not many people do against Marshawn Lynch. And Don Capers knew it. He said, if we try and tackle this guy with one guy, it's going to be a long night for us.
Under 4 minutes until halftime. It's 1st and goal. Lynch cutting it back. In he goes for the touchdown. Marshawn Lynch picking right up where he's left off the last 2 years. 7 carries, 59 yards, and a touchdown to give Seattle the lead again.
Little read option here, but you're going to have a kick-out block on the front end against Matthews. He never sees it coming and can't get there on the backside, and Lynch just walks it.
Luke Wilson throwing a nice block. Steven Hauschka for the extra point. And the Seahawks that time go 70 yards in 6 plays, 4 of them on the ground, 2 through the air. And as we open the 2014 season, it's 17-10 in favor of the Super Bowl champions. That's taken by Micah Hyde in the end zone, and we go to Michelle.
Well, right tackle Brian Bulaga went to the locker room after they looked at his left knee and took the brace off his left knee. Now keep in mind, he missed the entire season last year with a torn ACL in his left knee. He is questionable to return. As for tight end Richard Rodgers, whom he collided with, he has a stinger. That's sort of a nerve irritation in his neck. He also is questionable, Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. There is Rodgers. He's standing along the sideline, rookie out of the University of California. Mike McCarthy sending in the play here. 3:41 remaining in the half. And Rodgers hanging in the pocket, and then he throws to his tight end, Quarles, for a gain of 18.
It was interesting hearing Aaron Rodgers talking about Andrew Quarles. He said, you know, he's a guy that doesn't always look that great in practice, and you don't think that much, then you get him in the game, and he just keeps making plays. Getting a chance now because of the injury to Richard Rodgers.
Been there a while. Drafted in the 5th round in 2010 out of Penn State. Lacey behind Quarles. And that Seattle defense is right there to meet him at the line of scrimmage, led by Bobby Wagner, 3rd year. They picked him in the 2nd round in 2012. He's the 2nd rounder, and Wilson's the 3rd rounder. Boy, they draft so well in Seattle. John Schneider, Pete Carroll, and the free agent pickups have been great too.
Now Wagner, the leading tackler both his years with the Seattle Seahawks, had a hamstring injury. Didn't play much in preseason, but playing great so far.
2nd and 10. Crowd in full throat here. Play clock down under 5. Oh, and Rodgers, he started to call for time, and then you've got the rookie center who wants to snap it, and he's getting an earful here from Rodgers. But Rodgers calling time as Lindsey snapped it.
Timeout Green Bay. Team's third. 30 seconds.
That's their final.
TV timeout.
Looked like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Michelle Tafoya back in Seattle. You've seen Aaron Rodgers at the line of scrimmage trying to communicate with his linemen. Well, head coach Mike McCarthy radios in the plays to speakers inside Aaron's helmet. We have a helmet with similar speakers, and we've got a radio just like Mike McCarthy's. Let's see what it sounds like in all this noise, Al.
Can you hear me now, Al?
Sounds like grunge to me.
I'm not a quarterback.
It's 3rd down and 10 after the timeout, which Rodgers just did get, and then he has to dump it over the middle, and Starks is able to lunge for the 1st down. So a big 1st down pickup here on a 2nd and 10, and that's going to take us to the 2-minute warning.
You're unbelievable.
No. It's been a long year. 2-minute warning, 17-10 Seattle. And back we come with 2 minutes to go, and a 1st and 10 at the 49-yard line. Hawks up by 7. And Rodgers gets it away quickly. Fast release. Quarles makes the catch. Gain of about 6.
Rodgers very much under control now. Obviously, you want to milk this clock all the way down. You don't want to give the Seahawks a chance to have the ball back, but you need points on the board because the Seahawks deferred and will get the second half kickoff.
Green Bay running its 31st play. It's a swing to Starks, and he's going to be forced out of bounds to make it 3rd down. Bobby Wagner is there, and that's going to make it 3rd down and 3. Richard Sherman says, man, I got to do everything I can to keep from getting bored. Well, he must be bored tonight because nothing. 0 has come his way.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen to him. You ever see him do that thing where he goes, like he's yawning? That's what it is, because by formation, you can go away from him because he stays on this side. So they have just left Jordy Nelson on the other side.
Play clock at 4. They run a stunt up front. Rodgers able to step away from it, throwing on the run, and Rodgers, was he across the line?
He had the first down.
45-yard line, he did.
All he had to do was take another 2 steps, and he had that first down.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe not. That was Bobby Wagner was coming up on him. Maybe that was what he was thinking. But a guy as elusive as Rodgers is, there's the line, and it's not over the line. As long as that back foot is still on that line, it's not a penalty. But I just thought he had a chance to run for it.
So 4th down, now they'll have to punt, give the ball away. Earl Thomas, let's see what he's going to do with this one. Mastey's kick. And they're going to let it bounce, and it takes a nice Seattle bounce as it comes back to the 17-yard line.
That Seattle player was really close to that ball, and I think that's what the Packers are saying. If it just touched his foot.
Right. Jeremy Lane, if it touches him, it's a live ball.
Did not.
Of course, they want a flag. They want to look at it.
Let's see if this ball touches the foot of Jeremy Lane. I don't think he really knows where it is. Yeah, it did not.
No.
Not until the Packers player touched it anyway, for sure.
Green Bay touched it first.
I think
he was close.
Yep.
Seattle.
John Kuhn, who was the first guy there. So you've got 66 seconds. And Seattle has all of its timeouts.
You know, a year ago at this time on opening day, I think you probably run it a few times, get out of here because Green Bay doesn't have their timeouts. After what we saw out of Russell Wilson tonight and in the Super Bowl, they probably let him work this a little now.
I think it's bombs away if they want. Turbin is in the backfield. Swing it to the outside. It's a low throw, and it's caught there just in bounds by Doug Baldwin, and he can't get out of bounds. The clock will keep going under a minute. Pete Carroll looking up at the clock. They have all of their timeouts. Don't take one here. 2nd down and 6. And Wilson under pressure and runs right into Matthews. A flag is down. You got Matthews and Peppers both there. And a flag is down in the secondary at the 32-yard line.
Oh boy, this one's going to hurt. You go from a sack and into the half. To an automatic first down if it is.
It is.
Illegal contact, defense, number 59. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Inside linebacker Brad Jones, and there goes the sack, and Seattle has a first down.
Little double move here by Zach Miller, and you could see the grab. Not a difficult call at all.
35 seconds.
We're going to put 3 more seconds back on the clock. There it is. So 35 seconds. The ball is at the 26-yard line. And again, Seattle is going to get the ball to start the second half. Trying to cash in here at the end of the first. Turbin. They'll take it up to the 35-yard line, and now they'll take a timeout right here with 27 seconds. Quarterbacks tonight. Not too many incompletions in this game. Only touchdown pass belonging to the smiling Mr. Wilson.
Before this one's said and done, one of these two quarterbacks is going to scramble around and make a big play that may end up deciding it.
On a Hail Mary. 2nd and 3. And Wilson deep downfield, underthrown and incomplete, and almost intercepted by Clinton Dix. Doug Baldwin got behind him, but Clinton Dix had position. Incomplete, 3rd and 3.
Nice play by Clinton Dix here. He is going to be right here. And when Wilson moved to his right, his hope was that Clinton Dix, the young rookie, was going to go with him. He did not. Held his ground. He's missed a couple of tackles tonight, but perfect coverage there. An angry Doug Baldwin got him. That was pretty funny stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They talk about every day Doug Baldwin's angry at something.
3rd and 3. And we'll keep it on the ground, and chugging to the 42-yard line is Turbin. And they will take a timeout. 14 seconds left. 14 seconds left. Seattle would need a good chunk of yardage to afford Hauschka the opportunity to tack on 3 more.
Hauschka's career-long 54, so they need to get it somewhere around the 35-yard line to give him a realistic chance.
Need about 25 yards here as Wilson gets ready to take it out of the shotgun. 4-man rush. And Wilson's going to have to throw that away, and that's going to chew up a total of 4 seconds, leaving 10 on the clock.
I'll tell you, the pass rush of the Packers is starting to have a little impact. Justin Britt, the rookie, on the outside, and Julius Peppers kind of throws him aside as Russell Wilson starts to go. And on the other side, Russell Okung, who's coming off that toe surgery in the offseason, and he's just getting back into form. So we'll keep an eye on this as we go.
Wilson. Well, he's going to run with the ball and then gets it to the 48, but even with a timeout here, that's going to be well out of Hauschka's range or anybody's range, and that'll do it for the first half. So on opening night, Seattle leading Green Bay by a score of 17-10, with the Hawks getting the ball when we start the second half. Coming up next, Toyota halftime after these messages from your NBC station. Well, the first half of the first of 256 games this season. Regular season completed. A look at downtown Seattle. Al Michaels with Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. First half buzz with the score: Seattle 17, Green Bay 10. Earl Thomas fumbled a punt return that led to a Kuhn touchdown run to give Green Bay the lead. Meanwhile, Percy Harvin out almost all of last season after hip surgery. Had a big first half with 5 catches. Aaron Rodgers averaging only 4.8 yards per pass and 86 yards as the defense has done its work for Seattle. And Marshawn Lynch in midseason form with 7 carries for 59 yards and a 9-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, no B.J. Raji, I think, is hurting a little bit when you're trying to stop Marshawn Lynch, their great nose tackle.
Here's the kickoff, and Harvin told us yesterday he's coming out. If it doesn't go out of the end zone, and he does here, but not very far. Good special teams work by Green Bay. Ball at the 13, and we go to Michelle.
Well, Earl Thomas had that muff punt in the first half, and Pete Carroll told me at halftime he spoke to him, and he trusts he'll be making the right decisions from now on. As far as what he expects from Green Bay's offense here in the second half, he said we just have to keep them in front of us. Meanwhile, for the Packers, Brian Bulaga, their right tackle, is done for the night with that left knee injury. As far as the pace of the Packers offense, we expected them to go at warp speed, but Mike McCarthy told me, I have no problem with the pace of our offense. What I have a problem with is us not breaking tackles and us not making tackles on defense.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And that could be a very significant injury to Bulaga if he is out for any period of time. In terms of the pace, they ran 32 first half plays. Meanwhile, Lynch off and running again, and that'll take him over 70 yards as he picks up 14 on the first scrimmage play of the third quarter.
Talked a little bit about Big James Carpenter right here and what he's been able to do. Just so much better conditioned, and that is a big man he pushed out of the way. Mike Daniels there, probably as strong a defensive lineman as they have. But so far, the big three of Seattle is outplaying the big three for the Green Bay Packers, at least offensively.
From the 28, looking for room, swinging to the outside. There he goes again, and that's a 10-yard gain as Peppers finally runs him out of bounds. So Lynch right now, the linchpin of this offense tonight. Beast mode, 9 carries, 82 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, these two backs are pretty similar. They're powerful guys and they can run you over, but they also have that great quickness in the hole. I mean, that is a lot of moves for a guy the size of Marshawn Lynch.
He gets a blow. Turbin is now the back, and here he goes up to the 41-yard line. He would be the second or third back as the season moves along. They also have Kristen Michael, who was drafted in the second round out of Texas A&M last year, but he's inactive tonight.
Just watch the moves inside the hole. That's what makes a great running back. Everybody always, they turn on, you know, the combine and they want to watch a 40-yard dash time and, oh, did he run 4.3? And so who cares? Because all that matters for running backs is how does he do in tight spaces and can he make people miss? And Marshawn Lynch, I think, may be the best in the league as far as a big back.
And can be a steamroller when he has to be. From the 41. Stepping up. Wilson hit as he throws. They got him by the back foot, and the pass is incomplete. Peppers putting the charge on, 2nd and 10.
Julius Peppers coming around the edge on Russell Okun, a very good player, but again, a little rusty because he's coming off of that toe surgery. And Russell Wilson, even against the 5-man rush, one of the things they were worried about in Green Bay was rushing him with just 4 because that always leaves a gap somewhere for Russell to step up and through. And so now they've been bringing some 5, looks like a 3-man rush this time, though. Oh, here they go.
They're coming. They blitz 2. Wilson gets it off. Is contact there? Is it incidental or what? Lockett is the intended receiver. McCarthy wants a flag. Sam Shields covering on the play. No offensive interference. 3rd down.
I tell you, Sam Shields has what I call cocky speed. He's a guy that's not afraid to get in your face. He turns around, and I don't think that is interference, although they're supposed to be tough on the defensive backs and the receivers this year with all that. I don't know that we had one holding call on Brad Jones, but this hasn't been called anywhere near like it was in the preseason.
No, preseason they were flag crazy. There goes Lynch setting up in the slot out of the empty backfield. And the pass is caught over the middle by Doug Baldwin, who turns the other way. Can he get around the corner? No, and that's a great tackle by Sam Shields.
Just wonder if Doug Baldwin had any opportunity here to turn it up the field at any time. He thought he might be able to outrun one more, but Sam Shields, one of the fastest guys in the NFL, caught him by the shoelaces.
And make sure he didn't get the first down. It's 4th and 4. Randall Cobb sets up at the 9-yard line. John Ryan, one of only 3 Seahawks who predated Pete Carroll coming here in 2010, who remained. With backspin on the punt, fair catch is called for and made at the 14-yard line. Green Bay gets the ball for the first time in the second half when we come back to CenturyLink Field. Now Green Bay. First possession, second half, 14-yard line. Rodgers in the pocket. Off the fingertips of Nelson, intercepted by Byron Maxwell. Flag is down, and Maxwell will get tackled inside the 10-yard line. Shoving and pushing afterward, but a flag is down, and John Parry to make the call here. And the Seahawks offense is already coming out onto the field.
There is no foul in the play. Flag was thrown instead of the beanbag.
All right. He gets so many things going, he threw the wrong item.
It's one of those you just kind of throw it into the hole of the zone, and Aaron just let it a little too far. And for Byron Maxwell, it's what he did last year. He got to play in the last 5 games due to some injuries and suspensions, and all of a sudden he had 4 interceptions in those 5 games. So at some point, maybe Richard Sherman does get a chance.
Brandon Browner is gone, so Maxwell took over. In here tonight, starting on the other corner.
And that's
Sherman loves it.
He's thrilled because he knows if he makes plays, eventually offenses have to balance out.
No doubt. That sets him up at the 8-yard line on a 1st and goal. Wilson keeps it, throwing, incomplete. Kearse was the intended receiver. Williams covering. It'll be 2nd and goal.
Same play they scored the touchdown on earlier. That's that read option pass. That time Tramon Williams, I think it was, did not take the bait. He's off and inside, and instead of coming up to attack Russell Wilson here after that fake, he stayed back with his receiver, and he had to throw it away. Watch Tramon Williams, his eyes on the quarterback, takes a little false step, but then recognizes it. Good play.
2nd down and goal. Lynch lining up deep in the backfield. He picks his way over the left side down to the 3-yard line. 3rd down and goal early in the 3rd quarter, and that's 10 carries now for Lynch for 87 yards.
One of the guys we haven't talked much about, Max Unger, right in the middle there, Pro Bowl center. Nice job reaching, and you just have to wonder, I think that's LaTroy Guion in there, yep. And he did not play very much either after getting let go by the Minnesota Vikings, and right now Unger may be wearing him down a bit.
3 receivers set to the right. Lynch goes to the left, and the pass is batted at the line of scrimmage and taken in at the 3-yard line. Nick Perry covering on the play. Pass incomplete. So 4th down and goal, and in comes the field goal group.
Nick Perry's had a bunch of injuries, but a big play here. And for Russell Wilson, that's the 2nd tip ball that could have possibly been intercepted that he sort of escaped. So sometimes you're good, and sometimes you're lucky, and sometimes you're both. I think Russell Wilson is both.
Hauschka now for a 20-yard field goal attempt, about the distance of an extra point, and that's good to give them a 2-possession lead. Early in the 3rd, Seattle up 20-10 over the Packers. Paul Allen also owns the Portland Trail Blazers of the NBA, chairman of the Seahawks, has owned this team for well over a decade, made about $1 gazillion at Microsoft. He was there with Bill Gates. And there's the Super Bowl 48 ring that the Seahawks and the staff will get. You go back to Super Bowl I, and that's what the Green Bay Packers wound up getting after they beat Kansas City. Of course, owners come in all shapes and sizes. Steve Ballmer was there at Microsoft. He's a little bit different than Paul Allen.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah.
Only the Clippers. That's a little bit different, too.
I would take either one of them.
Either ring?
Yes, sir. It still means the exact same
Yeah,
thing. I don't
true.
care how many diamonds are in it.
True. Well, unless you make a comeback, your career record's going to be 0-2 in the Super Bowl, right?
It doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't look really good.
Well, the Legion of Boom, they're getting it done so far, and let's give some credit to Byron Maxwell. He's been picked on tonight, but so far Jordy Nelson has not been able to come up with those big plays. And for the first time all night, Jordy Nelson is over on Richard Sherman now.
Jordy Nelson 4 catches, but for only 31 yards tonight. They toss it to Lacey. He's trying to get out of the backfield and does, but not for very far. Gain of 2 before he's forced out of bounds. It'll be 2nd down and 8.
And you know, this offensive line now for the Green Bay Packers is dangerously thin. We don't know what's going on with Balaga just yet, but he's had a lot of injury issues. And Don Barclay is on IR already. J.C. Treader, the starting center's out. And that was definitely a concern for Aaron Rodgers, how thin they're getting up front.
2nd and 8. Lacey. And we go to Michelle.
Well, one of the members of the Legion of Boom, Jeremy Lane, is out with a groin injury. He was limited in practice all week because of that groin injury. He plays nickel Al, but no more tonight.
So he is out. That probably means Marcus Burley will be in. The other guy
exactly
is
right. He's out there.
Yeah, Tharold Simon is another guy that they like a lot, but he's inactive tonight as well.
Yeah, Marcus Burley came over in a 6th-round pick trade with the Colts. Let's see if they go after him with Randall Cobb.
3rd and 6, and they will go to Nelson instead. Jordy Nelson pulls it in, making the catch along the sideline, and that's enough for a 1st down.
Yep. Just sort of flip it back over, and here's Jordy Nelson going to go a little back shoulder. Maybe a little push. Looked like kind of got it with just one hand. That's what these receivers have gotten to now. They sort of hold off the defender with one hand and catch it with the other.
Back to the ground. Lacey spinning away, but then he gets spun down. Bobby Wagner coming in to clean it up at the end.
I tell you, this run defense has been the most impressive for me so far for the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, we know about the Legion of Boom, and they get all the credit, the pass rushers up front, Michael Bennett and all those guys. But Bobby Wagner, if they can't stop the run, they can't get into all their kind of coverage things that they want to do. And it was about mid-season last year. They gave up a couple of big running days. They managed to win both games. I think it was Tampa and the Rams. But from then on, they started doing a lot of tackling drills, and they turned their season around.
2nd and 12. Rodgers, quick release, and Cobb can't one-hand that one. And it will be 3rd down. That's Marcus Burley covering on that play, so they go his way.
Well, he just paid for that 6th-round draft choice. Here we go right here, going to try and swing him up the boundary again. Same sort of play. And you can imagine the kind of pressure he must be feeling coming into the Legion of Boom, and now he's going to be the guy they're going to pick on. Forget about Byron Maxwell. He already got an interception.
Just got here this week in that deal with the Colts. 3rd and 12. And Rodgers finding time, hits Cobb over the middle for a 1st down. Tackled by Wagner and Chancellor. And that moves the chains on the 3rd and 12. It's a gain of 23 yards.
Let's give some credit here to the big guy, Derek Sherrod, working against one of the best pass rushers in the game, Cliff Averill. Here's a guy who was a 1st-round draft pick and ended up with a broken leg and some real issues. Hasn't been much of a factor, but pressure's on him now.
Quick drop, pass to the outside. Jordy Nelson will take it, and he's shoved out of bounds by Maxwell after he picks up 6 yards. It'll be 2nd down and 4.
Well, you've got Jordy Nelson on the outside. Whenever they give him just a little bit of room, and offensive players, they're going to allow them to do those kind of offensive stiff arms and get away with it.
6 catches for Nelson, 45 yards. Starks and Corliss now come into the backfield. Fake to Starks, And then it's knocked down at the line of scrimmage by Kevin Williams, part of that famed Williams wall. He and Pat Williams for many years in Minnesota. They picked him up in the offseason.
Yeah, Kevin Williams, one of the great players, sort of at the end of his career now, but they were really happy to get him. They lost a lot of big guys out there, Red Bryant, Clinton McDonald, and they needed somebody else because in this division against the 49ers and Frank Gore, you better have some big guys in there to play the run.
Clemens as well. In fact, the Seahawks are -6 guys who were regular starters last year. Rodgers hanging in, getting out, surveying, all the way across the field and broken up at the goal line. Intended for Nelson, Maxwell staying right with him and not giving an inch. It'll be 4th and 5.
Boy, I tell you, Aaron Rodgers showed his arm strength. He was all the way outside the numbers on the right, and Jordy Nelson sort of threw up his arm all the way back to the left, and he almost got this thing in there. Thought there was a little chance for maybe pass interference. Let's see the very end of this play. Good job, though, by Maxwell getting his head around, so no interference.
So it's 4th and 5. McCarthy says, I want that play clock restarted because they're going to line up to go for it on 4th and 5. Will they snap it, though, here? They do. And Rodgers almost gets sacked and then does get sacked. Cliff Averill. So they gamble, they go for it midfield on 4th down, and Seattle's going to get the ball in great field position. 7 minutes left in the 3rd quarter on opening night. Hawks by 10. Before that failed 4th down play, you had seen McCarthy on the sideline raising the palm to the sky, meaning reset the play clock. The play before that was that long pass to the goal line. They did reset it to 40, but Mike was still arguing the point during our commercial, and to no avail, obviously, as this is Percy Harvin, who's going to gain 16 yards for a 1st down. And Chris, you got to think at this particular point in the game, with 22 minutes to play in the game, to go for it at midfield, down by 10, is a very surprising call.
Well, maybe you say, okay, you're going to go for it, you're 40 or whatever, you're going to just do it. But then you could tell it was screwed up.
Right.
You know? And at that point, because they burned through all their timeouts in the first half, I'm sure he was thinking, I don't want to take a timeout here, and so they ended up in a bad play. They just weren't ready to snap the football, and it cost them a sack.
You could tell you're not in sync when your coach is asking for the play clock to be reset. This is Lynch going nowhere.
Well, this Nick Perry's come back in here today and it ended up having a pretty nice game. He's had a lot of injuries during the course of his career, but the feeling here is that they have so many different guys they can rotate in and out. Not a lot of defensive linemen, but a lot of guys that can play multiple positions. It's Mike Neal and Nick Perry and Julius Peppers. They can move them up, they can move them down, and they really feel like that versatility is going to give them an edge throughout the year.
Play action on 2nd and 9, and the pass is incomplete. Tramon Williams breaking it up. And boy, well, you know, when you got a guy like Marshawn Lynch, you're going to use a lot of play action, and Wilson did last year and will this year as well.
We talked a little bit about Nick Perry. We're talking about jamming guys coming off the line of scrimmage. That would be that. These are grown men out here. These grown men on the Green Bay side, they need a win. Here comes the walk around.
3rd and 9, and it's Lynch swinging to the outside, but they sniffed that one out, and Clinton Dix makes the tackle.
Now they had nobody in this amoeba defense with their hand on the ground. Look at that, everybody's standing up. Now who's going to come where? There they go, come around there, and Clinton Dix comes up. Makes a nice play. So let's give some credit to Green Bay's defense. That could have very easily been a big turning point after going for it on 4th down, and they get the stop.
Absolutely. That's exactly what they needed. Now they're going to get the ball back, still down by 10 points. John Ryan in his 9th season. Sending it down to the 10-yard line, and a fair catch is called for there by Randall Cobb. Under 5 to play, 3rd quarter, opening night. 20-10, Seattle. There is Your Super Bowl MVP, one Malcolm Smith. Had a great postseason. Intercepted that pass against San Francisco off the Sherman deflection. And now Rodgers is going to lose the ball. And it's loose in the end zone. And covering it up to at least save 5 points in the end zone is Derek Sherrod. Michael Bennett came in, the sack fumble, and then at least with a flag now down at the end of the play, for the moment, at least he saved 5 points.
For Derek Sherrod, this is going to be a long night. This is starting to look like the Super Bowl. The Denver Broncos simply could not handle the outside pass rush of the Seattle Seahawks, and it's starting to look more and more and more like that here.
John Parry.
Ruling on the field is a fumble. Recovered by the offense. By rule, that's a safety. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Offense, number 69. That penalty will be assessed on the ensuing kickoff.
That's the tackle, David Bakhtiari.
Michael Bennett so fast, but also great with his hands. Watch him sweep the hands away of Derek Sherrod and come in and strip the ball out. It's one thing to get the sack. It's another to get that ball out. And Michael Bennett, anybody you talk to from the Green Bay Packers, they said he is the guy that stirs the drink here, that when you get him going, bad things happen. And ever since Brian Bulaga went out of the game, that's been a mismatch against Sherrod.
Well, Bennett had 8.5 sacks. Bennett was the guy who started his career here but didn't last long, went to Tampa, and then they brought him back.
He had like 9 sacks or something in Tampa, and somehow he got out of there, and he comes back here and he becomes a multimillionaire now. He was fantastic last year. You can play him outside, you can play him inside at D tackle. You get him against some of those guards, it's just not fair. It's sort of like back in the Super Bowl days with Justin Tuck when they first put him down inside.
So now instead of a free kick from the 20-yard line, it's half the distance to the goal. And the kickoff, the free kick, will come from the 10-yard line, and Harbin will have an opportunity, in all likelihood, to run this one back.
Be careful now. Percy Harbin backed up. Wouldn't feel real good about this situation.
And he's going to run up and field it on a high hop. And pretty good coverage there by Green Bay to surround him and take him down at the 47-yard line. But again, Seattle starts this drive from midfield.
You know what's interesting, Al, is that jet sweep that they've been running Percy Harbin on. Super Bowl, they never stopped it. In this game, they never stopped it.
Yeah, 3 times for 38 yards. You can pick up 13 yards per carry. Tain't bad.
What a factor he's going to be if he can stay healthy this season.
Well, it's part of the reason they could let Golden Tate leave town. Sidney Rice also retired in the offseason. Even another one of their wideouts. And Wilson will gun it over the middle and fighting his way, trying to get that first down a little bit short, though. Gain of about 9.5 over the middle would be tight end. That's Zach Miller.
Take a look at Percy Harvin. Of course, I think played in 1 regular season game last year, then had the huge Super Bowl. Any way they can get him the ball in space, that's the goal. Here's the little jet sweep, and it happens so fast, defenses don't even know where the ball is. Now you get him up the field, and Morgan Burnett just couldn't even get his hands on him. And this guy is just going to be a huge difference maker for the world champions.
Second and a short yard, and they give the ball to Turbin. And that's a first down. Peppers makes the tackle. Under 4 minutes to go now in the third quarter.
I'll tell you the other guy, Al, that we haven't even talked about is Paul Richardson. He was their top draft pick, even though he drafted in the second round. MVP from Colorado, and they talk about him and the speed that he has is frightening. And Russell Wilson says his hands are even better than his speed. Looks like a center fielder or a shortstop making plays on the ball.
6 feet and just 183 is Richardson.
He's not that. He's thin.
Lynch gets away from Jones for the moment. He takes the ball to the 35-yard line, and Marshawn is on his way to a triple-figure night.
I mean, almost on every carry now, he has at least one broken tackle. On that one, there were two. And when you're playing defense and you get a guy, most running backs are going down. They played that pretty well. They got a guy hit him in the backfield, Brad Jones, but he couldn't get him on the ground. So now it's, 2nd and 6.
Lynch 93 yards. Wilson on that roll. Completes the pass. That'll be a first down. And again, it's Miller. It's taken out of bounds by Hawk.
Well, we never talked too much about Zach Miller with all the other weapons on this offense, but he has been nothing short of fantastic tonight. Blocking, pass rushing, outside linebackers, making that diving catch down the field, coming across the field here. You get a guy that can play like an offensive lineman, sort of the true old classic blocking tight end, and still make plays in the passing game. That's strong.
And taking away what would have been a Green Bay interception early in the game.
That's a great point.
2 minutes left in the quarter on a 1st and 10. Wilson rolling outside and then just throws it away. Very adept at that. 2nd down.
There just aren't many young quarterbacks that do that as well as he does. Young quarterbacks never want to give up on a play, right? They always want to think they can do something, whatever, then they throw interceptions. Russell Wilson, at least 3 times in this game that I can remember, has been outside, in trouble, nowhere to go, throw it out of bounds. Hey, we'll get him next time.
Cerebral. He and Earl Thomas, they get together, they drive around, and they go, you know what? You realize how lucky we are? Let's be legendary.
They might be.
2nd down and 10. Lynch breaks a tackle, but then 3 other Packers are right there.
Yeah, it was interesting hearing Russell Wilson talking about going to Children's Hospital with Earl Thomas and visiting a young lady there that had been recently paralyzed, a 7-year-old, and just how blessed he felt just to be getting back in the car, and that was all they talked about on the way home. And he's trying to do what those men have done already, which is win back-to-back Super Bowls.
Well, every one of those is in the Hall of Fame except for Brady, and of course he will be 5 years after his retirement. 3rd and 10.
Here's the Amoeba defense again, everybody up.
Rush 5, pass caught. Harvin close to a 1st down. Tackled there by Morgan Burnett.
Yeah, Amoeba this. I mean, Dom Capers is drawing up everything he can think of, but, somebody's got to cover that guy. And I haven't seen anybody can do that yet. And I don't know any safety in football that's going to be able to do that. So when you go to some of those empty sets and spread sets, that means linebackers and safeties have to get involved in covering one of the great threats in the game.
Amoeba this? You can take your Amoeba, you know what you can do with it. 1st and 10 from the 15-yard line. Wilson is going to keep it. 1st down and a 1st and goal. Taking the ball to the 3-yard line.
There's that 4-man rush again, and if you're going to do it, there's going to be a gap. And nobody does a better job than Russell Wilson when you rush 4, finding that little spot that he can wiggle through, and then even more impressive, he knew when to get down.
End of 3, 22-10 Seattle, and they're threatening. Back after these messages. It's a 12-point game, and Seattle trying to make it more on a 1st and goal from the 3-yard line. Lynch, the running back. They got the fullback in there as well. There goes Marshawn into the end zone again for a touchdown. His 2nd of the night. They go 53 yards in 9 plays, 5 rushes and 4 passes.
I tell you what, James Carpenter does not make this play a year ago. Here he is coming right out here and hooking that defensive end that was playing outside of him. An incredibly tough block. He got him pinned, and they got a walk-in touchdown. Great play by James Carpenter.
Auska for the extra point. And 5 seconds into the 4th quarter. The world champions looking every bit like world champions. 29-10. Last vestiges of sunlight in the Pacific Northwest. Been a rockin' night in this park, CenturyLink Field, home of the Hawks since 2002. Out of the end zone comes Mike the Hyde. And he'll get tackled at the 18-yard line. So a long road ahead. Seattle has scored 19 unanswered points and lead 29-10. Back we come into the ballpark with Green Bay down by 19, and Rodgers throwing, and it's caught for a first down by Jordy Nelson up at the 33-yard line.
The exact same play that they threw the interception on. Just threw it right into the gap between the linebackers. One of the problems you have when you play against a Seattle team, their linebackers are so athletic and get such deep drops, it really creates problems for your passing game. And so far tonight, Aaron Rodgers, everything's been underneath. Has to be, I guess.
Little dump off here. Lacy. Whoa. Goes right into Chancellor. You don't want too many of those battles, but he did there and picks up the first down.
Well, that gives you some idea what kind of man Eddie Lacy is. Cam Chancellor, probably the heaviest hitting safety in the game. Watch this collision on the back end here. Chancellor comes up, free shot, stands him up, but can't get him on the ground. Nice play by Eddie Lacy. Cam Chancellor's laid some of the biggest hits I've ever seen in football on people.
Green Bay needing a quick strike to get back in it. And Lacy spinning away again, not very far this time. Got away from Chancellor once again to the 48-yard line. Aaron Rodgers, normally a downfield passer, but tonight when you look at his numbers, passing by distance, he's thrown only 4 balls more than 11 yards. He's 16 of 19 underneath and 2 of 4 beyond 10.
And no yards after the catch, Al. That's what makes Seattle so great. They don't miss tackles other than the one you just saw. And this is a team that can pass rush, so you got to get the ball out of your hand quickly.
Blitz coming. Rodgers feels it, throws. That's caught by Cobb. And Cobb takes the ball into Seattle territory to the 39-yard line. Gets wrapped up there by Burley.
You know, this Marcus Burley is going to take on a bigger and bigger role in Seattle. We already know they don't flip-flop their corners. So they tried to pick on Maxwell a little bit, but now you bring in a new guy, Marcus Burley. And if you're going to have a shot, probably you're going to say, all right, I've got to take my shot, Randall Cobb, against the new guy.
Rodgers flushed out, chased. Starks had to reach back for it. Next to nothing, and there's a flag down.
Holding, offense, number 69, 10-yard penalty, first down.
That's David Bakhtiari.
Yeah, I think he was holding Bruce Irvin. Good to see Bruce Irvin back in after that hip surgery. That's all they need around here is one more pass rusher. He's had a few holding calls over the last year. You see kind of the grab around the shoulders, and that's what they call it. But Bakhtiari was really a find for him last year. Rookie started all 16 at left tackle, very rare. Now, here comes the front four. Michael Bennett down inside over your guards.
First and 20. Rodgers stepping away, throwing, and then getting creamed is Nelson by Cam Chancellor as he makes the catch, and the ball is spotted at the 37-yard line.
Boy, what a good throw by Aaron Rodgers. Watch this little sidearm dart in there. And then it was Jordy Nelson finding out what so many others have. Cam Chancellor is the enforcer in that part of the field.
2nd and 8 after the gain of 12. Starks. And he's going to be a yard short of the first down. They'll spot it at the 30-yard line. KJ Wright makes the tackle. 3rd and 1.
And now you're starting to see them picking up the pace a little bit. They're trying to pin these pass rushers on the field for extended periods of time. 4th quarter, first game of the season. You're a little tired. Maybe now it's starting to work a little bit for Green Bay.
And Rodgers throws, and that will move the change. The ball taken by Nelson. Jordy to the 20-yard line.
Yeah, and Jordy really had a little chance to run with that one, but sometimes you take a shot from Cam Chancellor, you remember it the next time. Good job, though, by Aaron Rodgers, getting that ball out of his hand quickly.
9 catches for Nelson tonight for 83 yards. Starks on the ground, spinning away, looking for room. Gets to the outside. Boy, he turned a lot of nothing into something and takes the ball inside the 10.
That's just fantastic. Michael Bennett's going to shoot down inside and almost get James Starks in the backfield. And then it was just all Starks. Remember the run that this guy had going to the Super Bowl? He was fantastic.
Now Starks to the short side of the field, turns it back inside and takes the ball to the 3-yard line. It'll be 2nd down and goal as we tick down to 10 minutes left in regulation.
Boy, that was good by Andrew Corliss on the outside. Really stayed on his guy, the tight end, and allowed that one to happen. And now you kind of see, look at Seattle. They got their hands on their hips. They've pinned those guys out there, not letting them substitute.
Been a long drive, over 5 minutes. Started at the 18-yard line of Green Bay. And Rodgers rolling and throwing, and it's caught for a touchdown by Cobb. So exactly what Green Bay needed, not only a touchdown, but to do it with some alacrity, even though it did take 5:24, but at least 9.5 remain on the clock. And after the extra point, it could be a 12-point game.
Well, when you get your running game going, then you can do things like this with the bootleg. Nice job by Aaron Rodgers. I think they're going for 2
They
here.
are, but he's going to make it 11, which is much
Exactly.
better. You go to 8 and 3 as opposed to 12 points, where you're definitely going to need 2 touchdowns.
And the worst you come out of this is with 13 down, which is still 2 touchdowns.
So a 2-point conversion would get them to within a touchdown, a 2-point conversion, and a field goal. Ball spotted at the 2. Rodgers empties the backfield. He goes 5 wide here. And pump fakes and then throws, and the pass is incomplete. Intended for Corliss, so it's a 13-point game with 9:31 left in the 4th quarter in Seattle. 29-16.
Beautiful night here, though.
Fabulous. Great day. Temperature the game time 71. Not much cooler than that. Percy Harvin is back to receive.
Onside?
Well, they're lining up. Now they spread it out. This would not quite be a surprise onside kick. And it won't be period. Well, Harvin was going to come out with it, but he decides better. So, you know, you look at these Seattle Seahawks, and every year people say, you know, can a team repeat? And of course you can repeat, as we said at the beginning of the show, but boy, you look at this team, especially in this stadium, counting postseason, 17-1 over the last 2 years.
You're going to have to beat them here eventually if you're going to knock them off. And, you know, I think back to that San Francisco and the championship game, and maybe how all these fortunes are different if they don't hit that 4th and 20, whatever that one play was, and the play at the end of the game. But, you know, those 2 teams you got to think are still going to be right there battling to the end.
Well, you saw the coach, Pete Carroll, behind us. Pass is caught for a gain of 1. Luke Wilson making the grab. You go back to the last 9 Super Bowl champions, and what's not only amazing is that you haven't had anybody repeat, but you only had one team that even won the postseason game. You go all the way back to the Patriots when they beat Jacksonville after the 05 season. That was it.
I tell you, if Green Bay's defense could get a 3-and-out here, because Seattle's defense was a little tired on that last drive, get a 3-and-out, get them right back on the field, things may start looking a little different around here.
Well, there's Lynch. It's going to set up a 3rd and 6. Trying to chew a little clock up here.
Yep. One of the guys that they like is this one, Dayton Jones here. And you'll see him slide right down the line of scrimmage. And because they've got so many guys now that play in these versatile roles, they're rolling these guys in. Last year with all the injuries, they really didn't have that ability. But they have a lot of top draft picks now. They're all healthy and doing a pretty good job out here.
3rd and 6. They milk all of the play clock. Wilson with the flag thrown. And the pass is incomplete. Busted up there by Shields. Flag is down at the 27-yard line. It's a holding call. Which way is he going to go with this?
Boy, this is huge.
Holding. Defense. 59. 5-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
That's Brad Jones.
Again. Brad Jones going to get beat right off the line of scrimmage here, and as soon as he does, he grabs, and they are not going to do that. That's one thing they've said from the very beginning. If they see that jersey tug, they are going to call it. That was 3rd down. It was off the field, and that's his second big holding call of this game.
Big on so many levels because it's going to take a lot of time off the clock now.
Oh.
It'll take a good 35 seconds between plays. And this is Lynch taking the ball out to the 31-yard line. And the defense is going to get a little bit more rest. That defense, which, you know, we're always overstating things in football. But, boy, you look back to that 85 Bears team, and these guys were right there with them.
You know, I played against the 85 Bears team in '86, so a year later, and they beat us 41-0 at home, and we had a good team. And I didn't think I'd ever see a defense that could compete with that bunch. But the way these guys played in the new sort of passing era of football last year, Seattle was right there with them.
2nd and 8. Play clock already all the way down to the nub, and then a little screen is set up to Lynch, and Lynch will pick up the first down. On a reception that takes him to the 45, and on the prior play, his carry was his 17th and put him at 101 yards.
Here is the power of Percy Harvin. They send him across the motion. They've been jet sweeping, pump fake that way, come back. The entire defense shifts over with Percy Harvin, and they pick up a first down on the screen the other way to Marshawn Lynch. Great play calling. I tell you, Darrell Bevell, I hate to tell you, Seattle, he ain't going to be here long. He has called a fantastic game here tonight.
I mentioned before, he had a couple of interviews last year, and probably the only reason he's here is that he couldn't be hired until he finished the Super Bowl. Turbin picks up 4.
Can't tell you how many times tonight I've seen Green Bay Packers defenders and defensive linemen in the backfield and just unable to make a tackle. I mean, both these guys, both the backs, Turbin's breaking tackles too.
There's Bevell checking the play card.
That was just a killer holding call.
2nd and 6. Rolling and keeping on a bootleg and sliding to a halt after he picks up the first down. So tonight, Seattle just killing the Packers on the ground. 191 yards. How big is that loss of B.J. Raji?
Huge in every aspect, but anytime you get the running game going the way that it is, and for the Green Bay Packers, this is kind of an ongoing issue. I think that they felt like maybe they had a few things solved with all their guys being back and healthy, and nobody has solved the Seattle Seahawks yet.
Five minutes left in the 4th. Catch is made just inside the 40-yard line by Lockett, who scored a touchdown earlier. Take a peek at some of these numbers. NFL history, just 2 guys, 50 or more TD passes and 1,000 or more rush yards in any 2-year span. Of course, Cunningham did it a few years into his career. He did it in '89 and '90, and Wilson did it in his first 2 seasons.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson, I love the conversation he had with Michael Jordan about, okay, it's one thing to make yourself better. It's something else to make everybody around you better. And it really hit home, I think, for Russell Wilson, and he is very much the leader of this team. There it goes again.
Harvin to the 20-yard line, flag down.
They just motion him into the backfield from that empty.
Holding.
And
Offense, number 86, 10-yard penalty. Will replay, second down.
I saw that block. I didn't know if it was just a great block or a hold. Let's take a look. And a little hold, a little flop, a little, whatever you want to call it, but he got the call. I think that was more flop than hold.
Nonetheless, with 4:18 to go, it's second down and 12, back at the 46-yard line. Clock-eating drive. And Wilson's going to keep it. And he wants to stay in bounds, and he goes down at the 40, and then Hayward put his hand into his helmet, and he's going to get a penalty on top of it.
Well, Hayward is signaling face mask like Russell Wilson did it to him.
Personal foul, face mask, defense. Number 29, 15-yard penalty. Automatic, first down.
Let's see here. Yeah, there's a stiff arm. That's legal, but that is trying to take his helmet off, and that is illegal. And the Green Bay Packers, in many ways, have self-destructed. They tried to go for it on fourth down, never got themselves set, missed that one. Two huge holding calls. Just not a good effort tonight by Green Bay against a very good team. And you have to be almost perfect to come in here and knock off this bunch. But the big concern for me with the Packers right now, the depth on that offensive line and whether or not they're going to be able to survive the entire season with that depth.
And Lynch to the 22. Also, you look at that Green Bay schedule now, Chris. Really important. Next week they go home to meet the Jets. They'll be favored. But then the next two games after that on the road in the division at Detroit and at Chicago. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, this is a good football team. You know, don't kid yourself. But sometimes when you look back on a season, the one thing that gets you is when you get multiple injuries at the same position. That more often than not will eat you up.
Ted Thompson's done a terrific job in his years as the exec VP. A lot of great moves. And he's a guy who has Seattle in his DNA with the Seahawks as Marshawn Lynch takes it to the 15-yard line.
I tell you, Darrell Bevel, coming back to this again, but I love the design. They're killing them with this jet sweep with Percy Harvin. So now they come over, fake it, and just give it to Marshawn Lynch, and there's a humongous hole in there. I mean, Marshawn Lynch can win if there's no hole. You give him a hole that's about 8 yards wide, you're lucky to get him on the ground.
109 yards rushing for Lynch. 14 more receiving. 3rd and 2, 2:45 to go. And Lynch is going to try to crawl his way for a first down.
And the Packers going to take a timeout.
Green Bay has to take it. Looks like it's going to be a fourth down here with 2:37 remaining in regulation. 29-16. 4th and 1. They line up to go for it here. And it's a little dump off pass that is caught and taken into the end zone by Derek Coleman, the fullback. And that'll write a finish to this one as the Seattle Seahawks will win this one going away.
No Fail Mary this time. This is a rout. This is the world champions looking like it. Hardest thing in the world. 4th and 1. You've got big Marshawn Lynch in there, and instead of blocking, the fullback Derek Coleman just slips out in the flat, and there's nobody there. Sam Shields just nothing. Darrell Bevel's just added to the list. Great night for him.
Coleman's first touch of the night. Extra point by Hauschka is good. And the Seahawks have rolled up 401 yards and lead 36-16. And there is well, Sherman trying not to be that bored is going to wind up on the kick team here.
Malcolm Smith, the MVP out there.
Super Bowl. And Micah Hyde. It's forced out of bounds at the 25-yard line with 2 minutes and 27 seconds remaining in the NFL 2014 opener. Talk about a shutdown corner or whatever you want to call them, but you've had a great night when nobody even throws your way. That's your reputation. Meanwhile, they go Maxwell's way, and they've thrown at him 9 times and completed 6, but he did have a big interception. So now Green Bay at its own 24-yard line, and they start here with a dropped pass by Andrew Quarles. 2nd and 10.
Yeah, and believe it or not, Eric Sherrod's getting up limping a little bit. They had a little collision out there as well. So for Aaron Rodgers, sometimes you realize your fate and get the heck out of here, but it's going to be a concern, no doubt about it. They're going to have to give some help over to the right side for a little while until they get this offensive line hopefully back together and healthy.
On 2nd and 10, this is DeJuan Harris, the number 3 back, and we go to Michelle.
Well, we saw Eddie Lacy take that hard hit from Cam Chancellor earlier. He went to the locker room to be evaluated for a concussion, was ruled questionable. He had a concussion last season as well that took him out for a week, Al. Meanwhile, no further status on Brian Bulaga, just out with a knee injury, Al.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And before the snap here, we have come upon the 2-minute warning. Few minutes remaining on opening night in a 20-point game. Seattle looking like the reigning Super Bowl champions. So a big opening night for Seattle, a team that, counting 2 postseason games, has won 17 of 18. They're going to make it 18 out of 19 over the last 2 years plus when this one is in the books. It's 3rd down and 3 here. And Rodgers will throw and gets it away, and Quarles makes the catch. Flag is down, however. Back at the line of scrimmage at the 24-yard line.
And John Perry is not moving fast.
Holding, offense, number 70, 10-yard penalty, replay, 3rd down.
That's T.J. Lang. He had a hold of Michael Bennett.
Well, T.J. Lang's going to get beat around by Michael Bennett, and like so many people have done, you get beat, you save your quarterback, and takes off the board. A pretty spectacular play by Aaron Rodgers. You know, he can do a lot, but he can't do it all. And give credit tonight. They stopped the running game. Byron Maxwell, Marcus Burley, their backup slot. They had their 2 best receivers over there, Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb, and they couldn't get it done. I mean, it's just as simple as that, and the pressure got there in the 2nd half.
3rd and 13. Boy, that secondary does its job. What else is new? And it's deflected and incomplete. Leads in a boom. Rodgers had a lot of time, but they don't leave too many openings in the back end.
Great reaction there by Earl Thomas. I know he's disappointed didn't come down with that interception. What an intense young man that is. I mean, his whole life is dedicated to the game of football. He is the first one there and the last one to leave, and you hear that sometimes, but it's serious with this guy. He's there at the crack of dawn. He stays late. He lives for football. Just flies around the field. I love watching him play. One of the great players in the league.
And match day. We'll look good on the stat sheet as it's fair caught at the 23-yard line by Brian Walters. Well, when your defense is number 1, you get to the Super Bowl. 8 teams have made it when they were ranked number 1 in points and yards allowed. And there it is. The last Super Bowl before the AFL-NFL merger was the Chiefs. The only loser would be in Super Bowl IV, the Chiefs and the Vikings in that one. Hank Stram matriculating the ball down the field.
That was great. And you know, one thing that probably won't be talked about in this game, Aaron Rodgers took his team down the field to get his club right back in it. They were down by whatever, 13, 12, 13, something like that. And then Seattle's offense did what you have to do. If you're going to be champions, you then answer the call. You take it the other way for the game-clinching touchdown. And Russell Wilson and company were so razor sharp tonight, as was their defense.
Picking right up where they left off. A couple of kneel downs will end it. So Pete Carroll, there he is. The most youthful 62-year-old going on 63 next week guy you'll ever see. But, you know, you think about him, of all the things with Carroll, 20 years ago, he's the coach of the New York Jets. That lasted 1 year. He went to New England in the late 90s. Bob Kraft had inherited Bill Parcells. So Parcells leaves after they lose the Super Bowl. And then Carroll comes in for 3 years, and then Kraft goes out and he hires Belichick. So there's a guy who got sandwiched in between Parcells and Belichick.
Yeah, he might sandwich a couple of Super Bowls with this football team. But, you know, everybody thinks that Pete's the guy you get along with and he's great and they play music at practice. He said no. It's the same formula Bill Parcells used. Discipline. Disciplined football players win games. And he teaches discipline. And these guys, he talks about it being a laboratory that he had at USC. And he said, I'm doing the same thing now. We did at USC. The formula works. If the guys are disciplined, we're going to win.
Pretty good century for one, Mr. Carroll. 2 national championships, even though they took one away at SC, a Super Bowl, and a big start tonight in a quest to do it again. Seattle dominates in the 2014 opener, winning the game by a score of 36-16.